Yes, sir. You are looking quite smart, I must say. I think yep, I agree. Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 6. We've made it to Thursday, or as some people like to say, Friday Eve. Depends on your perspective, I suppose. But I like to think of it as just Thursday. Brick just got a tie, as you can see, and he's feeling a little managerial, I guess. And so we were discussing some of the habits slash pitfalls that some managers sometimes will fall into. And I mean, you know, I think it's important before we dive into this topic to be clear that, we all conduct ourselves through the values and the lessons, of the people that essentially, presented them to us and taught them to us. And let's be honest, not everyone should be out there giving lessons. Not everyone out there should be handing out little nuggets of quote unquote wisdom because their version of wisdom is toxic in some cases. So that's why we did come up with a little list for everyone here. It's kind of instead of the 7 habits of highly effective people, I call it the 7 habits of highly ineffective managers or leaders. So we'll just run through it here. Number 1 is they're always cleaning up a mess, even if one doesn't exist. They come into the organization and they look frazzled on day 1. And the first thing that you notice is they're cleaning up the mess of the last manager that was in place or what have you. And then from that point forward, it's just, kind of a ripple effect. Well, that should be a flag that, you may have now it is possible that there was a mess to clean up. Don't get me wrong. But if you find that this mess cleaning habit becomes, consistent, then you may have onboarded a manager that seems to create drama where there should be none. Number 2 is they're always, always, always super busy. In fact, they're so super busy that they really can't do the quote unquote details of their job. Like one-on-one meetings or making sure that the statistics make sense for the department that they're in or for the teams that they're running, so forth. And then, doing other things like, coaching and mentoring their staff so that they can become high performers and so on and so forth. So, watch out for the always busy, too busy for you. I schedule a meeting and I cancel it every week manager, because that's definitely something I would call a red flag or a concern. They like to manage from far, far away. Far, far away. They prefer the KPI approach. They like to hand down directives to their juniors, their junior managers potentially, and they don't really like to engage in day-to-day department operational activities. And while that has a value in certain cases, again, and there will be times where that makes sense, briefly, but it's never right to do it all the time. There's definitely time for, if you're really managing and leading a team, the team's going to know all about you just like you're going to know all about them. And that's the human aspect that has to be introduced into the equation. And the other thing that managing from far, far away is, it's a clever tactic for avoiding accountability. Oh, well, I wasn't there, so I'll go clean it up. See number 1, right? So yeah, just and by the way, that ties in and rolls right into number 4, which is always blames other people or the problems of the department on something else, right? It wasn't my fault. I inherited this. It wasn't my fault. The weather was extra cloudy today, so the productivity went down 20%, what have you. Again, see also number 1, oftentimes between number 1 and number 4, which is always cleaning up and managing from far, far away, it's so easy to implement number 5, which is placing the blame elsewhere, right? And then also being the hero, you get to come in and clean up the mess. What a great opportunity. So, you have to sort of look for the patterns in the behaviors. It's really important that you don't just take these things that I'm sharing with you also as as gospel, meaning that you see it once and it's a true habitual behavior. It could be a one hit wonder, but that normally the individual does what they're supposed to. These are just things that if there's something that you hear and see day in and day out, you've probably got an infection you need to consider how to cure. What else? Attempts to solve problems via really lengthy and complex plans. Most of the problems that we have in business don't require a whole lot. In fact, it's always funny when you get on those phone calls and the one person that speaks up is this one individual who says, well, why didn't we just pick up the phone and call them? Why is there 37 emails back and forth? So watch out for the lengthy planner, because the other thing with the lengthy plan is they'll plug in a whole lot of, well, we could have done it if we had looked on page 235 of my slide deck, and if we were able to implement bullet point number 7, we would have been able to hit this target. Stuff like that. Those are things that you got to really be careful about. You don't want somebody trying to over complicate things, because most things are pretty simple. And I think that's true in life for the most part, whether we believe it or not. What else? Oh, number 6. They may hide behind the concept of the shareholder. I've got the shareholder's best interest in mind, which means I need to go ahead and make some decisions that are going to negatively affect the organization, potentially long term, because I need to make sure the shareholder's happy. Well, I'll tell you what. The shareholder definitely needs to be made happy as best we can, but they also want to be informed. They also want to know what's really going on with their investment. And so making them happy at the expense of bad decisions is really not a good idea. And I just don't recommend it. And there are ways that you can certainly keep the shareholder pleased while also making the right decisions for your business. And the last one that I'm going to call out here is, isn't it funny how a particularly not so great manager always seems to have an exit strategy? Like right when they are about to be held accountable for something, all of a sudden they've found another organization to go create chaos and wreak havoc at. And this is something that I think we've all seen if you've been in business for anything longer than 5 minutes of your life. I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but if you've been around and been in enough management and leadership circles, you've seen this happen where someone comes in and they kick up a bunch of dust and look, make everything look crazy and chaotic and like they've really had a big impact on the business, and then they essentially disappear. So, now the sort of positive upside to that is if they disappear, well, you don't have them anymore, but you have to then you actually may have a real mess to clean up, and you may have to, you will have to either take on their role and responsibilities until you find a replacement, or at least find a replacement. And you may not have the bench strength for it because they probably didn't coach and develop anybody to take on the role and responsibility. So you see how it kind of has like a sort of a daisy chain effect. Does this help you? I hope this helps you, because you really do look like a really good manager right now, and I want you to do well. Great. Well, listen, everyone, that is episode 6 of the Chris and Brick Professional Edition. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us, listening and thinking about these things. This is not a comprehensive list of all of the bad habits, but it is a pretty reasonable one, I think, and certainly would love for you all to include your own version of a bad habit that you think some managers carry in the comment section for discussion if you like. But again, thank you, and look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.